Show of hands, who here is old enough to have ever used a typewriter? I took typing class, and it was on a typewriter. I'm that old. Typewriters started off with a mechanism that looked like this. You press the button on the keyboard for a specific letter, but then a little arm, a little bar, would swing up from the guts of the keyboard and smack that letter into the inked typewriter ribbon, and thereby press the imprint of that letter onto the paper, right? So that was the mechanism. Each keystroke on the typewriter would cause a piece of metal to fling itself up toward the paper, a different little bar with a different letter on it for each keystroke. That was how they started out. But then, in 1961, IBM changed all that. IBM invented a whole new kind of electric typewriter, where instead of each letter, each number, each character having its own little type bar that would swing up and onto the paper every time you hit a keyboard, a stroke on the keyboard, instead, Selectric typewriters just have this little ball, a little kiwi or like a little golf ball. They called it the font element. And you can change out that ball for a different ball if you wanted to have a different font to type with. And the innovation here was that with the Selectric, instead of a distinct and different piece of individual piece of metal flinging itself up at the paper for every letter that you typed, now it was just this one piece of metal, this little ball that would rotate and pivot to position the appropriate letter or number or character in line with the ribbon to make its mark on the page. It was a big engineering advance in terms of the way typewriters worked, and it definitely changed typing. But it turns out it also changed spying. Because starting in the 1970s, the Soviet Union invented secret, small technology that could be fitted inside an IBM Selectric typewriter. And they disguised it really well, so the only way you could find this thing was by x-raying the typewriter and knowing what you were looking at. But what their spying device did inside a Selectric typewriter is that it could detect the movement of little arms and push rods inside the Selectric typewriter that positioned that ball, that pivoted and rotated that ball as you typed the letters and numbers that you wanted to appear on the page. They put a device inside Selectric typewriters that could feel the difference, that could detect the difference between that ball being rotated to type a letter X and that ball being rotated to type like a number 7. Turns out if you were sensitive enough in detecting the movements inside the Selectric to position that ball just the right way, you could detect an individual and specific signal that translated to each letter or number that was being typed. So this device inside the Selectric would listen in as you were typing, and then it would translate that information into a digital signal, and then it would transmit that digital signal to the KGB, to spies who were listening in on that typewriter. And in so doing, starting in the mid-1970s, again, the Selectric only existed from 1961, but by the mid-1970s, the Russians had so hacked it, they could essentially get a real-time broadcast of anything that was being typed on one of these IBM Selectric typewriters that they'd been able to get a bug into. It was absolute engineering spy genius. And from 1976 to 1984, there were 16 IBM Selectric typewriters at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow that were bugged by the Soviets with one of these bugs that could listen in to the little arms and push rods that moved the Selectric ball. And for 8 solid years, for those 8 years, everything typed on those 16 IBM Selectric typewriters was beamed directly to the KGB.
End of segment 1 of Russia spying on America. It's been going on for years, and Trump is a victim of Putin, who is still a master spy, the director of the KGB, believe it or not, just like our dumbass president is the head of the CIA, believe it or not. It's true, it's damn true. But he's so damn dumb, he can't figure out Trump is playing him like a Stratus violin. Thank you. On to segment 2.